There have been so many books, movies, and songs that have been written and composed about the topic of love and relationships. Shraga, how is trust built in any relationship?
Marty, this is a beautiful question. Relationship, in essence, is there to build trust because relationship is two people that have different emotional worlds and they meet. And lots of times there's conflicts in a relationship. From a conflict, we can grow because when a conflict exists, we have two options, or to increase the control or to let go and being able there to contain each other's feelings. It's true in marriage and it's true in any relationship. So basically, relationships are there to make us better people. And if we know to utilize that in a very good way, we can increase our inner trust through the relationship. And that also makes us feel closer to our partner.
So when someone is dependent on someone else in a relationship, is that necessarily destructive?
Well, they're dependent. We're all dependent on each other. The same way we're dependent on oxygen, we're dependent on our spouse, we're dependent on people. That's the way the world is built. Dependency is not a negative thing. In life, all relationships are based on dependency. A mother is dependent on her child, the child is dependent on her mother, a wife is dependent on her husband, a husband is dependent on his wife. Dependency, if we're dependent on each other and we want to reach a certain goal, a certain destination together, so that dependency could help us grow as individuals and it help us feel closer to one another. So dependency is definitely not a bad thing. The same way control is not a bad thing. It all depends how we utilize it and if it's something that we both gain from it or just one of us gains from it.
What's the formula for a good relationship?
There's four crucial points for a good relationship. The point number one is attraction. If we don't feel attracted to each other, or in different words, the more we feel attracted to each other, the more we feel that we can contain each other physically and emotionally, the more chances that this relationship has. Step number two is we have a mutual goal. We know where we're going. Okay, we're attracted to each other, but what do we want from this relationship? What do we want from this marriage? Do we want the same thing? Step number three is communication. Are we able to communicate? When we have a conflict, are we just going to defend ourselves through an argument, or we're able to listen to what we feel and to listen to what our partner feels? And step number four is self-awareness. That means we made a journey with ourselves prior to the relationship, and now we're in a place that we're ready to have this relationship. So these four aspects for sure is a good formula for a good relationship.
How does a good relationship affect the journey of life?
Marty, this is an amazing question. The game of life, I usually call it, is in the moment of death to accumulate the more trust that we can accumulate. That's the game of life. That means we have to all the time achieve the more trust. The more trust we achieve, the more quality of life we have. So we have a lot of tools to be able to achieve that. We have children, we get married, we have relationships, we get old, we get sick. All these factors help us let go control and to build that inner trust that it's so important for our quality of life. So for sure, trust and the journey of life goes together.
So then why does passion in a relationship decrease and what can be done to prevent it?
Passion in a relationship is that we feel that our partner is strong enough to contain us. However, during the course of life, we experience our partner's weakness, and that weakness automatically affects our attraction towards them. We're surrounded with a lot of objects that we could imagine and we could fantasize about them as strong creatures that could contain us. However, if we want to keep being attracted to our partner, we got to do a lot of emotional work to be able to accept ourselves, accept our weaknesses, and therefore we're also able through that to accept our partner's weaknesses and be attracted to them. But that's hard work, and not every couple wants to go through that way. They prefer the easy solutions.
What brings so many couples to divorce then?
Because they lose the passion in their marriage and they find weaknesses in their partner. So they feel outside attraction to a lot of different objects because they think and they feel in their fantasy that they're strong objects. They don't live with them, so they don't know their weaknesses. So it's a lot harder to work on the inner issues of security and trust and fears than just finding someone else that could be a strong partner to contain you. So a lot of time couples choose, instead of doing the hard work and working on the inner issues that we spoke about of fears, control, and security, they choose to get divorced and find someone else. And again, the same story happens to them then. And
Oh, that's so sad. So what kind of work, you mentioned work, so what kind of work can be done to help preserve these marriages?
well, if we find that our partner is weak and we're not attracted to them anymore, or we're less attracted to them, so it's about really working on our inner issues, or our inner security. What makes us scared? What scares us? Why we don't have the security? Why we don't have the trust? It's a lot of work. But if we find our partner that is weak, that means because we need him to be stronger than us. But if we're able to let go, so he's strong enough.
Mhm.
So it's about letting go. And letting go is difficult, and letting go is scary. But couples that succeed together is couples that learn to let go together.
It's all about vulnerability.
Allowing yourself to be vulnerable. A lot of times I heard people coming to me and saying, how can I be vulnerable in front of my spouse? They'll stop respecting me. But that turns the marriage into something that's hollow, that's empty. Because the whole idea in marriage is to be able to be weak in front of our spouse and to feel contained by them. And that goes back to containment, what we spoke about in the previous.
Is there a connection between sex and love?
It could be connected and it could be not connected. We can have sex with people we don't love just because we experience them as strong people, people that could contain us. Love and sex together, it involves inner work, basically to be able to be vulnerable in front of our partner. And that is something that really is the journey of life. We could choose to do that, or we can choose to split them, but that's where all the infidelity comes from.
Wow, that's really interesting. How much does a couple need to know each other, or for how long do they need to know each other before they're ready to commit?
It's not a matter of time. I think that a lot of people are afraid, especially in second marriages, people are afraid to commit because they're all traumatized from the first marriage, and they feel they need a long time of getting to know each other to be able to feel secure enough to commit. The reality is, based on my experience, not like that. That means the more work that they did of themselves prior to their meeting, the less time they have to be with each other, the less time they have to get to know each other. Because the reality is we get to know ourselves during the course of life. And when do really we know ourselves? We always know ourselves more and more. So if they have a mutual goal, attraction, good communication, and self-awareness, it's not about how long they know each other, it's about how long they know themselves.
When would you recommend that a couple should go to a therapist to work on their marriage?
Marriage, in definition, is supposed to be a place that both of the partners are able to be weak and able to contain each other's weakness and to grow through that experience, to build their inner trust through that experience based on what we spoke about before. However, lots of times a marriage becomes a place that is not safe, and they find themselves arguing and arguing. They find themselves in places, in corners that they don't want to be, in places that both of them don't feel secure, and they have to increase their control. And he has to increase his control, she has to increase her control, and they basically get involved in a relationship that's not healthy for no one. Therefore, it's good to go to a third party to be able to help them listen to themselves and listen to their partner.
So it's all about getting out of yourself a little bit and being able to hear the other person with a clear mind and an objective point of view.
It's not about getting out of yourself, it's about accepting yourself. It's all about being able to say, well, listen, the other persons feel threatened about something that I'm doing. It's not about me, it's about them. Let me be able to contain their feeling. But lots of time couples are not able to do that, and instead of marriage becoming a safe place for them to grow, it becomes the most not safe place, and therefore then it's recommended to seek help by a third party to be able to help them listen to themselves and listen to each other.
Shrago, we've learned so much now about relationships and love. Thank you very much for joining us for this section, and we will see you in our next chapter.